When people talk about Woodstock, they usually remember two festivals, the first one and the disaster. 1969 became a cultural legend. 1999 became a cautionary tale. But somehow, the festival in the middle has been almost completely forgotten. Woodstock 94 attracted more than 300,000 people. It featured everyone from Nine Inch Nails and Green Day to Traffic, Bob Dylan, Aerosmith, and the band. The weather was terrible. The grounds became a sea of mud. The logistics were a mess. And yet, most people who were there remember it fondly. So what made Woodstock 94 different? Why did one massive gathering become a success while another became a catastrophe? And why does Woodstock 94 feel like the last moment when every generation of rock music was still speaking the same language? Because for one weekend, in August 1994, the children of Woodstock met Woodstock itself.
If your youth was as easy to hold on to as an ice-cold Pepsi.
You think I'll go skinny dipping again? I hope not.
Woodstock 94 wasn't without skepticism. Artists such as Soundgarden, Johnny Cash, Guns N' Roses, and Alice in Chains turned the festival down. Many cited the big corporate nature of the event. The event drew huge sponsors such as Pepsi and was broadcasted the world via pay-per-view. 1994 was a strange year for American music. The baby boomers who had grown up with Hendrix, the band, and the Grateful Dead were entering middle age. Their generation was becoming nostalgic. At the same time, Generation X had taken over popular culture. Alternative bands were topping the charts. Lollapalooza was thriving. The old rules were gone. Rock music was no longer one movement. It was splintering into dozens of different scenes: grunge, alternative, industrial, jam bands, classic rock, metal, punk. Each had its own audience, its own identity, its own heroes.
I was sleeping out in the rain, had no tent. Woke up this morning and found an earthworm in my shoe. We slept under the stage, down back that way. It was totally dry. I think we got the best place to sleep in the house.
In theory, a festival trying to unite all those groups should have failed, especially if it carried the impossible weight of the Woodstock name. The original Woodstock wasn't just a concert, it had become mythology, peace, love, counterculture, a generation defining itself. Trying to recreate that 25 years later felt almost absurd, but Woodstock 94 wasn't really trying to recreate 1969. Whether organizers intended it or not, it became something else, a meeting place, a bridge between generations. And no performance symbolized that collision more than Nine Inch Nails. If Woodstock represented peace and flower power, Nine Inch Nails represented almost the exact opposite. Trent Reznor wasn't preaching optimism. He wasn't singing about unity. His music was dark, mechanical, alienated, the soundtrack of a generation raised on broken promises. In many ways, Nine Inch Nails seemed completely out of place at Woodstock. Then it rained, and it rained, and it rained some more. The festival grounds turned into a giant mud pit. Most artists would have complained. Nine Inch Nails embraced it. Before taking the stage, members of the band covered themselves in mud. What happened next became one of the defining performances of the entire decade. The image of Trent Reznor emerging from the mud looked less like a rock star and more like something clawing its way out of the earth. And suddenly, something strange happened. The old Woodstock spirit hadn't disappeared, it had evolved. The kids weren't wearing flowers anymore, but they still wanted a shared experience. And while Nine Inch Nails represented where rock music was headed, Blind Melon represented a connection to where it had come from.
So by listening to what they're saying on the news and on the radio about this little get-together we're having here, they're telling me that all you people have really distorted behavior.
If Trent Reznor embodied the future, Shannon Hoon felt like a visitor from another era. Blind Melon's music was rooted in folk, blues, psychedelia, and improvisation. They sounded less like their alternative rock peers and more like descendants of the late 60s counterculture. And Hoon himself looked like someone who could have wandered onto the original Woodstock grounds.
$155 a ticket, you should be able to distort whatever it is you want to distort.
His Woodstock '94 performance became legendary. The dress, the unpredictability, the energy, the chaos. Watching the footage today, it's impossible not to notice how different he feels from many of his contemporaries. The perfect hybrid of 60s and 90s music. Something idealistic, something weird. It's also impossible to watch now without knowing what comes next. Just over a year later, Hoon would be dead at 28 years old, which gives his Woodstock appearance an added weight. And in many ways, Blind Melon occupied the exact middle ground that Woodstock '94 itself occupied. Not entirely old, not entirely new, a bridge between generations. But if Blind Melon represented the bridge, Traffic represented the source, textures, musical experimentation. These ideas weren't new. The younger bands were building on foundations that artists like Traffic had helped create. Then came the band. Few groups are more closely connected to the mythology of American rock music. The band had backed Bob Dylan during one of the most controversial periods in his career. They helped invent Americana before anyone called it Americana. At Woodstock '94, they weren't there as a nostalgia act. They were there as elders, keepers of the story. And then there was Bob Weir. Among the performers at Woodstock '94, few people had a stronger connection to the original festival.
There's a view down here we can't forget. Hasn't got a name just yet.
As a member of the Grateful Dead, Weir represented a direct link to the culture that Woodstock had helped create. Think about that image. On one side of the festival grounds, kids are wearing 9 Inch Nails shirts. On another, longtime Deadheads are following Bob Weir. And somehow they're sharing the same space, the same mud, the same experience. For one weekend, generations that normally occupied different worlds were standing together. And that's why Woodstock '94 worked. The success of Woodstock '94 wasn't that it recreated 1969. It couldn't. The world had changed, the culture had changed, the music had changed. What made Woodstock '94 special was that it accepted those changes. There were logistical problems, weather issues, security concerns, plenty of chaos, but the chaos never became hostility. The mud became a shared joke, a badge of honor that immortalized Green Day and 9 Inch Nails, something everyone experienced together. And that's the key difference. The crowd wasn't united by ideology. They were united by participation. They were all part of the same story. The result wasn't perfect. A few years later, everything would change. Rock music would continue fragmenting. The monoculture would disappear. The internet would transform how fans discovered music. And Woodstock '99 would become infamous for all the wrong reasons.
Awesome. This right here is Woodstock '99 at its finest.
Looking back now, Woodstock '94 feels less like a sequel to Woodstock and more like a farewell. One last moment when rock music's past, present, and future all occupied the same field. Trent Reznor, Green Day, and Primus covered in mud, Shannon Hoon chasing the ghost of the '60s, Traffic reminding audiences where the music came from, the band and Bob Dylan carrying history on stage. Bob Weir and the Allman Brothers connecting generations separated by 25 years. For one weekend in 1994, the family reunion actually worked. The spirit of gathering together still mattered, even if the music had changed, even if the culture had changed, even if everyone showed up wearing different uniforms. For one muddy weekend in upstate New York, rock music was still one big family.